Kirby, Slim.
Hey guys, how is it going? Are you guys ready for some randomizer? Because I definitely am, and wow, we are immediately getting started right away.
Well, this seed is going to be the worst, apparently. Uncle Text is back thanks to standard mode. This tournament, which is right off the gate, rather. We just started this yesterday. Tons and tons of races. This is Current Logic version 29. The standard mode of the game, and the biggest addition in this is going to be that the Uncle Sword may not be a sword. It's still possible, but there is a series of items that can get you through escape still, suitable as weapons that Uncle may give you instead. Ranging from bombs, bow, fire rod, Cane of Samaria, Cane of Burna, and of course, hammer. And today we have Cane of Burna. And you notice that because it's a magic-using item, Uncle has graciously refilled our magic meter so that we can get through. Some items are a little bit easier than others. Cane of Burna is one that, if you're not too careful with it, can use a lot of magic quickly, but we see we already have a nice bomb drop, too, off of one of these green guards.
Yeah, definitely, and didn't even have to really use Burna to get that item as well, just used a nice little pop throw to find it. So yeah, going to be nice to have that. We'll be able to check the last 3 chests in escape, so they're not going to have to worry about coming back for that later.
This is true. One other notable addition to the version 29 logic, you might notice on Odinspack's screen, we have yellow hearts. You can choose between the default red, blue, green, and yellow now. And this is just another one of these great additions of awareness that the developers have put into the randomizer to assist with folks that have any sort of color blindness.
That, and it's just kind of cool to have different colors as well. And what the... having a little trouble opening this chest. What the...
Uh-oh.
Did he... that's weird.
A little bit peculiar.
Because he opened the chest in the Uncle Cave, didn't he?
I want to say yes. I actually might have been looking more at docuhorror's screen at the moment, and he's picking up pots, so A button is definitely not an issue.
Yeah, okay.
Well, pressing on, I guess, we have docuhorror taking out the first required green guard, picking up a map in the vanilla boomerang spot, and now getting those 3 hits with Cane of Burna on the blue guard, getting that small key drop.
Okay, really curious about that. Okay, is able to open that chest, at least.
Well, we have seen everything, and new things to come. Moving down into Zelda's cell, we've got our infamous ball and chain guard. docuhorror looking to go with the pot strategies. It's just 2 of those right to the ball and chain guard's face, and we'll take him out, collect a big key. You don't need to use too much magic there, because that is a long fight with the Cane of Burna. And here we have a small key in Zelda's cell, as we begin our sequence to head back to the beginning of the castle and into the sewers.
Yeah, and Odin is going to have to be kind of careful, because he does have very, very little magic right now, literally just enough to kill that last key rat in the escape sequence, so he's going to want to either keep that magic or find a magic pot. There are some magic pots that are under the clay pots, so have to look out for them while you're going through the sewer section.
I believe I've heard the number 5 in total. I haven't searched them all out myself, but each one containing a small magic refill should be more than sufficient. At this point, the elusive rat that has a small key is the only other required kill throughout the rest of Escape. So as long as that thing cooperates a bit and doesn't run around too much, Odin should be just fine.
Okay, let's see. Can we get the... Okay, we got it now.
I can't even begin to speculate on that, so I'm just not going to. I don't know. This game is very, very strange. That's the easiest explanation I can think of.
I wonder if it was the case of him, like, accidentally pressing, like, another button when, like, entering that section, like, going downstairs, that may have, like, thrown off the chest or something. I don't know. Again, that's just a weird oddity.
That's for sure. And, well, the important thing is that it is now open.
Yes, for sure.
So, anyway, don't let that deter you. Welcome again, everybody that is watching. This tournament is fresh. It is on day 2. We have a 512-person Swiss matchup for the next 7 weeks. And that means 256 races of A Link to the Past Randomizer every week for the next 7 weeks. There's a lot of rando action. It's going to be busy, going to be fun. We've got a lot to go through.
Yeah, this tournament is absolutely jam-packed, filled with people, veterans and newer users alike. In fact, right now we have 2 fairly new players to Randomizer. docuhorror only starting playing Randomizer in early March of this year. Odinspack's been playing for about a year, kind of on and off, done a few SRL races here and there. So yeah, like a lot of new and fresh faces, especially for this tournament. So it'll be interesting to see how both of our runners fare in this seed. Do make it to the back of Escape, get a blue boomerang and some rupees and a heart container, it looked like, as well.
Mm-hmm. So there we go. Both of the runners were able to make it through without depleting their magic meters and get this back bombable area.
Yeah, I did take note. Odin did pick up the clay pot in the previous room before the key rat enemy, so was able to replenish a little bit of that, just enough to kill that key rat, so that was very well researched on his behalf.
Excellent. We'll see now in the Sanctuary chest we have another heart piece, not the vanilla one. It did not restore all of docuhorror's health. And as we're at the end of Escape, I'd like to also mention that our tracker today is Michael. So we'll be keeping things up to date there. Moving on forward, we see docuhorror heading immediately to the east, perhaps looking to set up a Houlihan, get some early easy money.
And looks like Odin is bypassing the Houlihan room for right now, going to be going straight to the Lost Woods Kakariko area, probably going to check out the Lumberjack's tree as well while he's up here.
Yeah, it seems like we're seeing about 2 of the 3 routes that people may take most commonly immediately out of Escape. I would say the one that Odin is doing is probably the most common, to just head west and check out the Lumberjack and the Lost Woods. docuhorror doing another great strategy, doing Houlihan to get some early money. The other strategy we may see people do at some point is save and quit straight out of Sanctuary. We see just a bomb upgrade on the Lumberjack ledge, so hopefully nothing that we'll need to go back for. But another strategy that people might do is to save and quit out of Escape and start from Link's house, depending on their inventory, and just head straight down to the South Shore. Check out the dam and the mini Maldorm cave. Every runner has their preference, and
Ooh.
immediately we've got a glove just kind of chilling there in the Lost Woods. Perhaps it belonged to one of the Lumberjacks, and they took the day off because, you know, they didn't want to get like blisters. And there's their hammer too, so that's interesting.
Yeah, they kind of dropped their hammer down a hole, so we're like, well, we can't really do much work anymore. Let's just leave the glove out here too. So. And yeah, it looks like docuhorror actually kind of took a southern route through Kakariko, which is kind of one of those other routes that you were kind of talking about. There is a section south of the Haunted Grove where you could potentially farm some bomb drops, so you can kind of go through the southern part of Kakariko, check the race game, and potentially be closer to the shop where you can buy some more bombs if you need them. Finding the Moon Pearl at the race game.
Nice. Yeah, I didn't actually catch what docuhorror had seen initially to make the trip through the house and through the maze, but with that and the items that Odin has, we collectively have Dark World access.
That is true.
Away.
Yes, this is going to be very, very early Dark World access. Power Glove, Hammer, and Moon Pearl, the 3 items you need. And yeah, there's quite a bit of Dark World you can kind of go through right now, so our runners will really have a lot of options at their disposal.
You know, it's kind of a blessing and a curse. Having a lot of options is a great thing. There's so many dense item areas that you can get to right away now. But how do you decide which one to do first? Because it's definitely a little bit safer to go to the Light World. Actually, a lot of it's safer to stick with the Light World first and head down to the South Shore and the Mini Maldorm Cave. But you never know. Dipping into the Dark World, at least checking the overworld, not necessarily going through Thieves Town. That can be a little risky. You can get some valuable information by completing the map, which haven't actually seen a map check yet.
Yeah, not yet. Odin going through the Bombable Hut in Kakariko, getting a lucky 4 bomb drop from one of the rats in there, so has definitely comes to open up the rest of the stuff in Kakariko. Finding the mirror at the bottle vendor. What is this seed right now?
You know what? That strengthens any sort of a Dark World play, because you can just head straight down to the Hype Cave area and then mirror and take care of the Dam and Mini Maldorm all in one go.
That is a very good point. I'm really curious to see if one of the runners will utilize that.
Or conversely, there's the hook shot as well. Wow. And the Titan's Mitts.
Oh my gosh.
Okay then.
Kakariko, more like stacked Rico today. Jeez.
It's easier to list at this point the places that we can't go, I think.
Yeah, really. And we still have another 5-item place right here to look through.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't want to jump too far ahead now because there are just so many options available, but to finish an earlier thought is that if either of our runner wanted to sequence break up to Death Mountain right now, since we don't have the flute or the lantern, they could do that, and here we are finding the Ether Medallion, a sword, in Blind's basement.
I am kind of liking the sink we have right now, too, though. That's also kind of nice.
Even picking up all the pots, too. Money's been plentiful. Yeah, it was cool. They kind of went through that room opposite. One went right, one went left, and then when they went back down, it was the opposite. It was very mirrored.
Yeah. Okay, so it looks like docuhorror are going to be making his way up to the Lost Woods to get his hammer and his other glove upgrade. Odin's going to be going south to pick up that moon pearl, and then, yeah, I'm really curious to see what they're going to do next, because they have a lot of options.
Docuhorror apparently using his last bomb. Not sure if that was just an accidental Y-tap or not, or just a, hey, here you go, Green Guard kind of a thing.
I actually did not notice that bottle of blue potion on top of the library earlier.
Yeah, so there we go. Docuhorror picking up his Titan's Mitts, about to drop into the Lost Woods pit and pick up the hammer. So yeah, I mean, where would you go, chat? Where would you go at this point? Slim, what do you think?
I don't know. I'm generally more of a safer player when it comes to this stuff, so I'd still kind of give some of those early Light World locations a check. But I do really like the idea of what you suggested, kind of go into the Dark World, South Shore, and kind of using the mirror to kind of sweep both areas at once. It kind of saves a lot of time and a lot of having to come back later to those areas. We did get a map check. Looks like we have a green pendant in the Eastern Palace with crystals at the other 2 locations. One of them was a 5 and 6 crystal too, if I remember correctly.
Yep, Desert was one of the Pyramid Fairy crystals. So none of, well, actually no, I take that back before I lied to all of you, because that'd be terrible. Tower of Hera is an sequence break, but an accessible crystal dungeon that's completable at this point. So we may see our runners head up that way, but Odin is actually going to make me eat my words straight away and head into the Dark World near the swamp area.
I am really, really liking this play because it's just, again, like you said, it's a way to sweep both areas at once and get the other map check. Other 2 pendants are at Darkness Palace and Turtle Rock.
And I believe that was Thieves Town that had the remaining Pyramid Fairy crystal.
Okay, so we know all of our crystals and pendants now, which is always nice. And docuhorror is going to be going up through Death Mountain. So both of our runners taking very different paths right now. Fire Rod in...
Heart Container, bombs, Heart Piece, which turned into another Heart Container, so okay.
And with that Fire Rod, I believe Skull Woods is definitely an option.
It is, yeah. Having the sword, we're able to cut through the vines in the back half of the dungeon. A little bit difficult taking Dark World damage, though, with only green mail. I don't know if we'll see Odin head that way just yet.
That's a good point, yes.
We see that the old man has a heart piece for docuhorror. And you know what? We have options galore, and I'm actually really thrilled to see both of our runners in entirely different places right now.
Yeah, it'll really come down to just like which play is going to end up paying off more, because both of these are very strong plays. Doing a sequence break on the left with docuhorror, Odinspack kind of doing a more of a safe play, but still going through Dark World is pretty dangerous. So, but trying to be more efficient with his routing, making sure he gets all these locations kind of as he goes over the overworld. So, just again, two very strong plays from both runners.
Definitely, as we see docuhorror mirroring up at the top of Death Mountain. I'm not going to pick up that shield, can't say that I blame him. It can just sit there for a little while and protect that mountain. Gonna make a play into the Tower of Hera, which, as I had mentioned a moment ago, is a crystal dungeon that is completable. Maldorm can take damage from either the sword or the hammer, so we have a couple of weapons at our disposal to take care of this dungeon. No fire source, though, for docuhorror, so if we do need to go to the basement for a item at some point, that's going to have to be on a return trip, unless we happen to find something in the dungeon.
That's true. There's a possibility that... Well, actually, right now, it's hard to say that Lantern's in here, because Lantern might be our ticket up to Death Mountain, logically. Do get the boots inside Mini Muldorm Cave.
Yeah, that's actually a good point, because either the Lantern or the flute would be required at this point to get up to the Tower of Hera in sequence. And... yeah, no, that's exactly right. If the Lantern happens to be up on Death Mountain somewhere, then we know that the flute is somewhere in the lower part of the world. Odin taking a little bit of damage from those Octoroks. Gotta be a little bit careful at this point with Green Nail. These crabs will do a full 2 hearts of damage. They do hurt. They're quick, they've got erratic behavior and movement. But Odin makes it through just fine. We'll check out the Ice Rod Cave and see what it has.
He almost kind of dashed right into his bomb explosion, though. Thankfully, he waited just a second later.
Yeah, that wouldn't have been enough to take away his life, fortunately, but that blast damage lingers for a bit longer than it seems like it should.
That's very true. So Odin does have a chance to potentially do some sequence breaking right here. He does not have the flippers, which means he could use the fake flipper technique over here to check out the Zora area and pretty much get everything except for one item, since he does not have the flippers yet.
Looks like he's going to use that blast damage actually to set himself up for fake flippers perfectly. So the way that works is that you want to jump into the water when you are 1 pixel away from the screen transition, so that on the very next frame that you move, you just hold left in this case, and the game will put you through that screen transition before it realizes that you're in water without the flippers. So in this case, using the bomb to blast you into the edge of the screen, I guess, for lack of better words, it's not going to actually put you through the screen transition. It just sets you up perfectly for it.
Yeah, it is definitely a safe way to do that. Finding the book from the fake flipper technique from Hobo.
And nice, Odin gets that on the way back, that reverse fake flipper out of the Hobo's area. That can be a little bit of a tricky one. If you actually jump a little bit too high, you actually can hit the screen transition before landing in the water. And the game does not like that very much either. So we'll see on the Hylia Island, we just have a little bit more money. Meanwhile, docuhorror is up at the top of the Tower of Hera. With 1 heart, gonna pick up, hopefully pick up a few from these pots, and then go see our friend Maldorm. Nice bomb drops out of the beetles, too.
Meanwhile, Odin does make it to the Waterfall Fairy Cave here. Going to need to swim out of the room just so he can exit the swim state, go back in so he can actually pick up these chests. Just get a small shield from the Waterfall Fairy Cave.
Ooh. Docuhorror kind of getting knocked over the corner of that middle pit. Gets that third hit on Maldorn with the hammer. 3 hits to the tail with the hammer is all that it takes. And what do we get for our troubles? We just get a dungeon map.
Meanwhile, on Odin's side, we do see what the Zora Ledge item is. It is a bottle with a B in it. Thankfully, another bottle is in the logic, so he won't have to go back up there and get that later. So that's honestly a very good fake flippers session from him.
This is true, there was a bottle in the library. It's the heart piece from Zora. Wasn't a 4th heart piece, though. That would have been really, really great timing, but the save and quit is going to respawn him with a little bit more health. We see more money on the Death Mountain floating island.
Odin, noticing that he has that book, it looks like he is going to be going to Desert Palace first.
You know what? It's still within sequence for him. It's a very, very strong play. It's a crystal, of course. It's a pyramid crystal to add a little bit more weight to it.
The funny part is, though, this is technically not within logic right now, though, because he did get that book from the hobo. So this is...
Oh, yes. No, that's true.
This is still a sequence break. Both runners going for sequence break dungeons. Both different sequence breaks, too. But still, we'll have to see how this pays off for him. Looks like docuhorror is checking out the Paradox Cave now. 2 chests here, and then 5 chests upstairs. Just some rupees and arrows in the bottom chests.
Unfortunately, nothing just yet for docuhorror over there. As for Odin, took a quick peek at the desert ledge. I'm not sure what was on it. I didn't see. He didn't stay on the screen long enough. That's good because, you know, gotta go a little quick. So we'll see what happens after these statues move. We'll see what's inside of desert. While docuhorror checks out the rest of the Paradox Cave, finding red rupee, heart piece, red rupee, probably another heart piece and a red rupee then, right? Nope. There's our 10 bomb item and a red rupee.
Yeah, that 10 bomb item, actually a newer item added to the logic, specifically for those cases in Uncle, where you actually have to use bombs to get through. So it's always fun to see where that bomb drop ends up.
Now we have our small key on the torch. Having the boots makes that not a problem. Just knock it right down. Head to the eastern edge of the Desert Palace. And I think docuhorror actually wants to make a play on checking Turtle Rock at this point. Having the hammer and the Titan's mitts, getting up to that portal is accessible. We may not have the right medallion for it, but not a bad play to at least get the knowledge of it right now.
That's right, and if he has the medallion, he can open it. Unfortunately, can't do anything in there just because he does not have the Canis and Maria to do anything, but still, it's good to have it open.
And it is Bombos. Being that it's a pendant as well, it may be totally unnecessary, but we'll find that out later on. Either which way, we have all of Hookshot Cave and the Super Bunny Cave that are accessible. And that's a total of another 6 item locations to check. So this is what I meant earlier about how, even though our runners are in totally different directions, they had pretty much the entire game open to them nice and early. And both of the areas that they decided to keep checking out, it's been pretty consistent with finding items in a very, very timely manner. And there's...
there's Bombos!
We have the mirror. We could go back and open it right now if we wanted to.
And I feel like at this point, they may just want to wait till they have Kana Samaria before they even consider opening it, because it's just not within the logic right now.
This is true.
Although, to be fair, where they are right now is not within the logic either, so...
You know what? I guess we just don't need logic anymore.
Yeah, who needs logic? And
I guess the item on the desert. Go ahead.
Sorry.
Oh,
I was just gonna say that the oh well, there's the flute from docuhorror and Hookshot Cave, but the two items from desert have been found. The two items from desert have been found. So and there's the flippers.
Yikes! So the question remains then, with the flute being up here, where is the lamp? Because that would have been our direct ticket up to Death Mountain at this point.
Yeah, that's right. The items that docuhorror found are definitely items that I guess Odin's kind of bypassing right now. So the lamp's got to be somewhere that we haven't seen yet. Probably an early location like maybe Eastern Palace or even some of the early Dark World dungeons too.
Yeah, that's a possibility. There's a lot of the lower Dark World that was still within logic. So between Sahasrara, Eastern Palace, Thieves Town even, the entire village of Outcasts I don't think we've seen yet, actually. There's quite a few places that it could be hiding.
That is very, very true. Looks like docuhorror is making his way over to that area right now. Going to activate his flute first, of course.
Solid idea.
And Odin finishes up his Landnola's fight, doing really good. Runs out of fire rod shots early, but finishes up nice and clean with the hammer.
Yeah, he sure did. And collecting that first crystal at 26 minutes is always a pretty good feeling.
Yeah, it really is. Both of our runners have just gotten a lot of really, really great items early on, with just their different respective plays, so definitely have been making pretty good progress on this seed so far.
Oh, nice, and we see docuhorror actually selling the bee to the bottle vendor.
Yeah, you get a nice 100 rupee refund from that bottle you bought earlier.
I mean, you know what? That was a pretty worth it item to buy earlier, though. Spending 100 rupees for the mirror, I would take it.
Oh, for sure, for sure. Anyway, it looks like Odin is going to be checking the Village of Outcasts like you were talking about earlier.
I'd imagine that at this point, too, we'll see a play on Thieves Town. Very plentiful on health. We have the hammer, so we know that it's going to be able to be fully checked all in one go. Some runners, if they didn't have the hammer in this case, would put off going to Thieves Town for a little bit just out of fear of the big chest having an item. That's not going to be the case this time around whenever they decide to head over there.
Looks like Odin's also thinking about checking the blacksmith as well, it seems like. Gonna do the digging game first to make sure he doesn't have to skip this later on.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see where he heads next. Finding a 4-dig 300 rupees. That's not so bad. Because we could see Odin head down to the Haunted Grove, the Circle of Bushes cave, or straight back up and check the blacksmith straight away. So that's what's gonna happen. As docuhorror is heading through Mini Mulderum Cave, and just to reiterate, with as many places that we had open right away, it's actually very, very odd to see Mini Mulderum Cave so late. Usually we don't have this sort of wealth of locations to check, and it's usually one of the first 15-minute places, but that's just how wacky and, dare I say, random these seeds can be in terms of what they provide and what you can do.
Definitely, I couldn't agree with that more.
And the big thing, too, is that for like any new runners and for anybody specifically, I mean, some of the best advice is just keep moving. Keep checking things. As we had mentioned, docuhorror has only been playing this since, I believe, the beginning of March. So he seems very, very familiar with the locations accessible, and he hasn't stopped, hasn't had any second thoughts about what he's doing, and that's fantastic.
Okay, so Odin does get the blacksmith back to its home, and gonna get the mushroom. Another fetch quest item we have here.
You know, that's strangely reminding me of like Link's Awakening in some sense, where you get the guy in the forest that's What is he at that point? A raccoon or something?
Yes, I believe a raccoon. Yeah, that is very similar, though. Didn't think about that.
And now that Doc is, well, still not within sequence, technically, since we shouldn't have the flippers yet. It looks like sequence, but it's really not at this point, because we didn't have the lantern to get up the mountain to even get the flippers.
And that's where that's where the flute was too. So you needed the lamp logically to get up there. But ooh, finding the blue mail inside Thieves Town, that's nice.
Yeah, that'll be good. Some of these enemies will do 2 full hearts of damage. I know that the grasshopper cricket guys up at the top, they move around kind of strangely too, and they can be tough to predict. So having that little bit of extra protection and higher defense is definitely going to make it easier.
Yeah, and if I know how a lot of early, newer rando players feel, one thing they're also thinking about is that Mothula fight. Mothula is probably one of the more scarier rando for newer players, so getting more defense this early on before that fight is always very appreciated.
Definitely. Yeah, because the longer that fight goes on, the more the spikes are moving around, and it's just an ordeal at times.
Not to mention that looks like our runners could be working with Fighter Sword for that fight too, so it's going to be even longer in that case.
Yeah, the lower offense definitely not on their side for certain aspects of this. Fortunately for a number of them, you can use the hookshot and the hammer to pretty much cover any of the weakness that the Fighter Sword has for the time being.
That's true. That's very true. We did call attention to this earlier. Thieves Town is also the other 5 and 6 crystal, and Odin does have the one from Desert Palace too, so he could also be thinking that Pyramid Fairy might have something.
Definitely a possibility. Still waiting to see, of course, where that lamp is, because the book technically isn't in logic at this point. And, actually, I don't know where I was going with that. I'm thinking of the wrong item.
Well, either way, I mean, there's still a lot of locations to check, and, you know, with the pyramid being unchecked, and Catfish for that matter, that'll give more incentive for Odin to head over that way anyway, so it'll just be a way to kind of pick up all those items without having to come back for them later.
That is true. Yeah, I think I was just trying to think of like a sequence to counter-sequence the not being in sequence right now or something. I don't know. But we see docuhorror checking another spot right now that hasn't actually been taken a look at.
That's right, we have Sahasrala's house.
Three items in the back here. 3 hearts under those pots, too, for those of you possibly curious. We have a heart piece, we have bombs, we have bomb upgrade. As Odin heads into the basement of Thieves Town.
Is running a little bit low on health, but there are some heart pickups in this next room, so you can use that to replenish his health a little bit. Also has on standby if he is going to need that for blind.
Yeah, there's the 2 right there. There's 1 back in that... Oh, there's the lantern.
Okay, well...
Spot for it. And there's another heart that Odin can pick up right before Blind's room, if he feels it's necessary.
Oh, and one thing that is kind of interesting about the current situation Odin's in, he does not have the small key, which means the small key to Thieves Town is going to be in the big chest, which is locked behind that small key door.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing that was put in with certain dungeon keys. As of the version 28 logic, actually. So that keys can actually be, in a sense, locked behind themselves. It has absolutely no bearing on the completability of the game. It's just another interesting little thing. Odin having a little bit of trouble with Blind down to 1 heart. At this point, any bit of damage will, unfortunately, kill him. But we're using the Cana Burner to make sure that we're safe, and taking Blind down before magic runs out. So nicely done on his part, picking up crystal number 2, just shy of 35 minutes.
Not just any 2 crystals, the 5 and 6 crystals as well, so making really, really good progress right now.
So we see Odin heading straight north now, presumably up to Skull Woods. Finding a bush guard, unfortunately you just gotta run away from that. Always a fun surprise.
I bet they're thankful they're not playing entrance randomizer, or that could be like a Beamos or another random enemy, or enemizer, yeah. I think I said entrance.
Ah, but that is just... You know, it catches you off guard enough when you find one in the regular game, but yeah, you pick up a bush in like an enemized mode, and suddenly, hey, Beamos right to the face. It's like, oh, hello. Didn't see you there.
Beamos, Lionels, even those rolling pin enemies too, it's insane.
Oh, those just don't make sense. But there we have it. docuhorror doing pretty well to get through this first set of dark rooms in the Eastern Palace. Fairly straightforward. There's not a whole lot that can harm you in these. I mean, the anti-fairies will do a full heart of damage, but for the most part, you stay out of their way pretty well. Not going to be able to press on to the Armos Knights unless we happen to find the bow in this chest, which I believe could be in Logic, which we did not, so... Eastern Palace winding up being a wash at this point. We'll see what's next for docuhorror.
And with the way that Odin has been routing this, if he happens to come across that bow later on, Eastern Palace will be just a single dip for him. So another reason why this routing has just been working very, very well for him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. So docuhorror about to head to the Village of Outcasts. Possibly down to Thieves Town, and then hopefully not too long after to the Hype Cave where we can get the Fire Rod. Unfortunately taking a death in a pretty rough spot. That is unfortunate. Starting back from Link's house because it was overworld.
Thankfully, though, he does have the flute, so at the very least he can just flute right back on the 3 and won't lose a whole lot of time, but it is definitely kind of annoying when that kind of thing happens in the overworld.
But here we go, Odin making some pretty nice movements straight into the back of Skull Woods. Gonna mirror first, interesting.
Oh, you know what he's checking right now.
I think we know exactly what he's checking. He just wants to go play with all the little animals, right?
Sure, why not? Okay, well, unfortunately, Pedestal is going to be off the table for this seed. Just a bomb capacity upgrade, so not going to be working towards that.
You know, at this point, even taking a look at the items and where the pendants are placed in the dungeons, what we know collectively between the two runners, I actually don't think that anything useful or required could have been there, aside from possibly the Misery Mire Medallion, which I don't think we know yet.
Yeah, that is true. There weren't really a whole lot of options for that, unfortunately, but...
You know, from where Odin is... Oh, nice. I almost got wall-mastered. From where Odin's sitting, though, it was... There were a number of options that it could have been. Of course, the runners don't have the collective game knowledge that we do.
That is true. That's a good point.
We see down to 1.5 hearts. There is a heart up in that top left skull pot. Just trying to play it safe and get through this room. Fire Rod not affecting those beetles whatsoever. We get the small key. He's just going to go for it. There we have docuhorror picking up his fire rod, a heart piece, heart container. Let's see how this moth goes. Got a couple of fire rod hits. Gonna go with some spin strats with the fighter sword. Electing not to try to use the hammer. The hitbox with the hammer can be a little scary with how close that you have to get. Down to half of a heart. Be patient. Take it slow. Ah, I got cornered there. There was really not much that could have been done.
Yeah, unfortunately not. That was a really good effort, though. I think he knows, though, that he has all the items from Skull Woods at this point, so he might just elect to kind of go somewhere else, take a small break, kind of work on some other overworld progression, and then come back to that a little bit later.
And you know what? That makes perfect sense. If you have the 2 items, then, you know, sometimes you just need to clear your mind with this. Take a step away. At least when it comes time to go back, it'll be a really, really quick thing to do.
That's very, very true. In fact, there's another heart right there, so...
So, who knows?
Looks like he is going to be heading north, though, so he's going to be getting all the items that docuhorror was able to get already, but within logic, too.
Yeah, that's precisely what it seems. So, let's see, what all was up on Death Mountain? We had the flippers and the flute, of course. Those were the 2 big things. The Tower of Hera crystal. I don't think that there were any important items in the Tower of Hera.
Yeah, not in Tower of Hera. The Babos medallion was also on top of Death Mountain, which he will need at some point for... Or actually, may not. We don't know what Misery Miter medallion is yet.
No, but that's a good point. That was up there. So it starts to beg the question, then, where are we going to find the bow and where are we going to find the Can of Samaria? Because I believe, collectively, aside from at least the Master Sword, those may be the only other main items that we're looking for.
Yeah, those are definitely the 2 big ones that are still unaccounted for at this point.
And the way that the logic works, we're going to have Ice Palace, Swamp Palace, that are going to be fully accessible, 2 other dungeons that we could see any of those items appear in.
Oh wow, and with both Palace of Darkness and Eastern Palace pendant dungeons, there's a possibility that the bow might be in Ganon's Tower.
That's uncommon and extremely true. Good observation.
Yeah.
We'll give you 10 shots with your bow, so we know that that's totally useless because we still don't even have a bow. So yes, for those of you wondering, the bow is still going to be required even though 2 of our dungeons are pendants. The 2 that require the bow are pendants. As soon as you get upstairs in Ganon's Tower, there are 2 rooms back-to-back that have red mimics. And the only thing they're vulnerable to is the bow, so that is going to be an absolutely necessary thing in every seed, actually.
It is, but this could be a scenario where it's in Ganon's Tower by itself, which is not something you see a lot, because if one of those dungeons is at least a crystal, you know you're going to find it outside of Ganon's Tower.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. There's 3 items for me on the list of I don't ever want to see them in Ganon's Tower, or well, I guess you need it either way, but the bow, the hookshot, or the Can of Samaria. Because there's times where you can get up to Ganon's Tower without the Can of Samaria, and you always fear that the big key is going to be on the right side, which requires it. So
that's very true.
it's just one of those nerve-wracking things. Like, you know you need it. You obviously want to find it sooner rather than later. And
then there's that very, very small percentage that the Boots could also be in Cannon's Tower and the big keys on the torch. Okay, it looks like Odin is going to be starting with his Moldorm fight here, equipping the. Okay, I think he meant to go for the hammer, equipping the Ether Medallion to start with.
Yeah, I think it's kind of programmed into Moldorm's like brain that Ether Medallions they just kind of laugh it off. They don't do anything.
Yeah.
I mean, on a more serious fact, the hammer and any of the swords are the only things that can actually damage Moldorm.
Mm-hmm. Nice job taking down Moldorm. That is going to give him his third crystal. Has a 2 crystal lead on docuhorror right now. But docuhorror is still kind of doing some checks that Odin has not gotten around to yet because of the flute acquisition. So could be making some slightly different progress than Odin, at least for right now anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And as we see Odin in this case checking something that docuhorror has already done, the time that it takes to do that could sort of balance this out for us.
Yeah, definitely.
Still a lot of game left. We're only just past 45 minutes in. A lot of places to check. Only a green rupee on the ledge, so I guess that's what that was, and that's why Odin never went back to get it. Good call, Odin. 592 rupees is just fine.
So yeah, once Odin kind of clears out Death Mountain here, he's going to have his options of Swamp Palace, Ice Palace, and potentially also checking a bit of Palace of Darkness if he wants to.
You know, it would be almost a nice thing if Palace of Darkness was Bola. I mean, we're
That's
still
true.
looking for other items at this point, but... And there's always the chance that pod doesn't have anything in it, and then if it's bow-locked, you save yourself a good 4, 5, 6 minutes or so.
Yeah, for sure, I can agree with that.
I'd be curious to see what Odin's gonna do next after getting the flippers and the flute. I mean, after presumably activating the flute, that is. docuhorror heading into the back of desert. We'll get one more crystal. Get through the Landmola's fight. Not quite getting that key dash there, but that's okay. Is making his way through, well, up to the Super Bunny Cave. It's easy to get a little bit confused on East Dark Death Mountain. Some of the caves are in different locations.
Yeah, Death Mountain is kind of a whirlwind of complexities, especially with Paradox Cave, with one entrance being, like, on one side of the cliff and the other entrance being on the other side of the cliff, yet they're somehow on top of each other, which just doesn't make sense.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's just a computer program, so it doesn't have to make sense as long as it works.
That is a very good point.
docuhorror going for the Fire Rod Snipes, unfortunately running out of magic. We'll switch to Hammer Strats. Not too bad, getting a hit there. Get another hit. Hammer doing the tempered damage, so 4 hits with the hammer would be the equivalent to Landmola's full health. second worm is down. Still having just a teensy bit of trouble with this third one. The way that the hammer hitbox works can make it really, really difficult to get those hits in. There we go, nicely done. And that is crystal number 2 for docuhorror.
Meanwhile, Odin does see that the Bombos battalion he just got is required for Turtle Rock entry. Still cannot get in there because no Canis and Maria, but we'll at least open it up, it looks like.
Or perhaps not.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah, I mean... I'd be curious to know what his thought process was to make him change his mind.
Could have just realized, oh wait, this is a pendant. Maybe I don't want to worry about this yet.
Yeah, that's probably the most likely reason behind it. I believe this is going to be our first look at the Spike Cave. I don't recall if Doc actually checked this.
Yeah, I don't think he did either, so yeah, it'll be interesting to see if there is something in here.
Probably gonna run out of magic lifting this rock, but plenty of hearts, not a problem at all. There's a sword.
Ooh, okay.
That's not bad, so that's technically one less item that we need before go mode. Since try as you might, the fighter sword is not going to touch Ganon at all.
Plus, it's one step closer to having Tempered Sword, which, in my honest opinion, is probably the sword you want to have for a large part of the game. Just it gets rid of bosses quickly, it makes the Ganon fight a whole lot easier, so if you run into that sword, you're going to be feeling quite a bit more confident getting through the rest of the game. Okay, Odin getting that flute activated next.
And then it's just really a question of where do we go from here. Options are wide, wide open again.
That's right, and things have kind of evened out a little bit for our runners. docuhorror still has to make his way through Thieves Town, and Odin does have the Master Sword advantage over the Fighter Sword that docuhorror has, but still, docuhorror is getting ready to finish the third crystal dungeon, and they will be tied up with crystals again at that point.
Nicely done from docuhorror, actually nailing the god pixel there.
Yeah, really nice.
The enemies cooperated, was able to just dash straight up. Well done.
Oh, okay. I actually like what Odin's doing right here. I think he's going to pick up the bottle of blue potion that's inside the library.
You know what? That's not a bad idea. It's a good safety to have, and it's not far out of the way in this case. So why not? There's really no reason not to, in my opinion.
He could also be thinking that, you know, that refight against Mothula could be coming soon.
Mm-hmm.
May as well have that just in case.
That's a good point. And I wonder if that might be next for him, actually. Not sure what else is in the Outcasts area that he didn't check. So I presume Mothula is going to be rematched, revisited, and squished like the bug that it is.
Yeah, and with Master Sword, he'll have definitely a much easier time to much less sword spins he'll need.
Yeah, not to mention the extended range of the sword. I don't know if any of you have noticed, the fighter sword just doesn't exactly reach out too far.
Yeah, it definitely is pretty weak by comparison.
Ooh. Well, that's something I've never seen before. A bee and a fairy from the same set of bushes.
Oh, and he's gonna
catch the fairy.
He did. Yeah. I mean, why not? You have the net. You have a bottle for it. Might as well. Oh, you know what? That's probably what was. That was probably the bee that he got earlier. Maybe he released that.
Well, let's see how docuhorror does with blind, as Odin is about to head back in and go for Mothula. We may wind up having 2 boss fights. Actually, docuhorror should be done before we see Mothula again. But we'll have 2 boss fights right around the same time. We see just how quick this blind fight can be with any array of weapons that you choose. It just takes 3 hits per phase. It doesn't really matter what the strength is.
Odin opting just to take the Bombos medallion and get rid of all those Gibdos on screen at once. I can understand that.
Yeah, they just love getting in the way. Picking up that one last small magic drop. Coming into this fight with 4 hearts, certainly better than the 1.5 that he had on the first try.
Yeah, and a fairy alongside a blue potion. I think he'll be just fine this time around.
Definitely. So let's see. And that's the other fun part too about this fight, is that the conveyor floor can just completely trip you up. You might be moving left to try and avoid something as the floor transitions, and you don't know that it's going to, of course, and suddenly you're moving left really, really fast. There we go.
Wow, it doesn't even use the fairy or potion, too.
For the Quake medallion. Well, here's a consolation prize, I guess. We don't need that.
Oh, and I guess we didn't have the second item here and here then. I thought we did, but my mistake. Okay, I do know that he has both. I do know he has the other item in here because it was the bug net. So I think he may have just forgotten that. Yeah, has all the items at this point.
I believe I remember seeing in Odin's player bio that Key Sanity was one of his favorite modes.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
I mean, if you play a lot of that and then you go back to playing Standard or Open, sometimes when you need to go back to counting dungeon items, it's easy to get confused, because with Key Sanity, it's just open everything.
Yeah, for sure.
But let's see, I guess we're going to check out the rest of Skullwoods. Just get a full inventory of the dungeon, see where everything's hiding.
I think it's going to be a small key.
I kind of wish it was a Moldorm. But here we go, we'll save and quit out of Skullwoods now. Starting from Link's house. Let's see, at this point we have Ice Palace, we have Swamp Palace. We could go to Pod, although that being a pendant, I don't assume that that's what's going to happen. Heading south, I have to kind of assume that we're going to go straight to Swamp Palace. It has 6 unique items within it. It's a little bit of a slow dungeon, but it is a crystal. It's a high-density place. And, I mean, Odin's only looking for Cane of Samaria and the bow at this point. As we've mentioned, the bow could even be in Ganon's Tower, based on our pendant layout.
Yeah, that's very true. This is the battle that kind of goes through a lot of runners' minds when they approach Swamp Palace. It does have 6 items, but it's also just one of the best dungeons to do in Go mode. So it's just, you kind of have to think, well, do I risk trying to go for all the items and potentially end up with nothing, or do I kind of put it on hold, hope that I run into those items, and then just have a really, really fast Go mode of this dungeon? You really kind of have to make that decision, and it can be a hard thing to really decide.
Right, and at this point you're kind of weighing it between, especially when you're weighing it between Swamp and Ice, I guess technically Misery Mire is an option at this point, although without the Cane of Samaria and only 2 items within that dungeon, it's a even more unlikely play, I would say. Not that it might be wrong, but I think at this point,
Yeah.
when you weigh it between 2 dungeons that are pretty long, that, I mean, Ice Palace might comparatively be a little bit quicker, but for less items. Do you do it if it gives you that chance of having a go mode swamp, or do you just go for where the density is? It's really that toss-up that Slim was talking about. And neither one would be wrong in this case. They're both very, very reasonable plays.
Yeah, for sure. And looks like docuhorror is not... It might be... Okay, picking up a small key. That's why he came back in here. That makes sense.
Yeah, that is quite necessary for Skullwoods.
Yeah, especially in this seed when the big key is in the other chest, so you'd have to go back and get another small key anyway.
Mm-hmm. And we'll see as Odin takes this nice leisurely stroll across the it almost sounds like tap dancing water when you just run on it, so finds the dungeon map. You know, it's just like that nice little shallow splash.
Yeah, yeah.
Oddly relaxing, I think. I don't know, I just like water.
I'm right there with you. I like water as well. Anyway, docuhorror getting the next small key that he needs. Going to get ready for his Mothula fight here. Now, he does not have a lot of magic, and he also still has the fighter sword, so this is going to be a pretty rough fight, I imagine. Thankfully, I think he's still... Actually, no, I don't think he did pick up that potion that Odin did, so this could be a rough fight.
You might be right about that. He did buy a red potion, though. I believe
That's
in the Village
right.
of Outcasts.
Yeah, that's right. He did buy
Or
that.
Kakariko. Okay, so he's got a blue potion too. Maybe he bought both? Or maybe he did pick up the one from the library. Either way, well equipped to take out this fight. And see, that's what I mean about how close you have to get to Mothula to hit him with the hammer. But if you're able to get 4 uninterfered hits, and what I mean by that is not knocking them into the spikes, then that's going to do the same as tempered damage and take out the moth in just those 4 hits. So well done for Daku.
Yeah, he's definitely going to gain some time back on Odin, since Odin did have to do the fight twice on his end.
And left side swamp. Big key, okay, that's good. You know, if you're going to check left side swamp, I think finding the big key there is generally favorable. That way you don't go downstairs, find it, and then need to come back up. Find
Ooh, tempered sword. Oh, that's good.
So there we go. We don't really have any offensive worries for the rest of this now. We'll be able to take out the Argus Puffs, for instance, with only 1 hit each. The jump from Master Sword to Tempered Sword is just so huge and beneficial.
It really is, and you got to be thinking if docuhorror makes the same play Odin does, like, he'll get the Master Sword at least, but it'll be a much faster fight for Odin with that tempered.
Definitely. And that other sword that Odin had was... Oh, there's the red mail. We don't have the cape, though, so we're unable to get that. But that other sword that Odin has is from the Spike Cave up on Death Mountain. So being that that's a little bit out of the way, it's possible that docuhorror won't be able to... Or won't... Not that he won't be able to, but won't get to it for some time.
Out of the way, and then also just because it's one of the last remaining spots on Death Mountain, chance that he could hit go mode and not even pick that up. So,
Definitely.
Yeah.
But we'll see. We got 3 more quick checks here from Odin in the basement of Swamp. Just another heart container. We've definitely been good on hearts in this seed. just over an hour, and we have 14 of them.
Anyway, I don't think we've seen these checks over here that docuhorror is looking at. There's the cape for Odin.
We definitely saw a Graveyard Ledge from Odin. I don't recall King's Tomb. Although I'd imagine that if Odin checked one, he would have checked both. But I don't recall.
If so, I do not remember them, so I do apologize, chat.
Well, our good friends in the chat will definitely let us know. So here we have Odin entering the Argus fight. 5 hearts, blue mail, not really any sort of a consequence. Let's see, just one slice on each of these puffballs. And that does it. Dinging on the door a couple of times. Make a nice little chime. Add that to the music, might as well be a triangle or something. And we have docuhorror possibly going to check Catfish, which I don't think we've seen at all.
No, I don't think we've seen that or any of the east side of Dark World.
That's true. No, we haven't seen the pyramid once. We haven't seen Pod. Oh, Odin has the mushroom. So we're going to see the mushroom for the first time, too. I don't think Odin
He has the mushroom. Oh, yeah, I don't think he did it, but yeah, he has the mushroom at least.
See, this could be some nice routing from docuhorror right now, is going to turn the mushroom in and then go check Catfish, and then pick up the mushroom on the way back down to Pod.
And I could potentially see Odin doing the Pyramid Fairy check now. He does have those 2 crystals, and he is right next to the bomb jump. And yep, that's what he's doing.
Nice, so it seems that our 2 runners are going to kind of go through some similar areas at this point, and this might be like the first time they've been in similar areas together since Escape. If you're just joining us, for instance, through Kakariko Village, we had Titan's Mitts, Moon Pearl, and Hookshot Mirror. We had basically everything to open up a vast majority of the world for us. So our runners spent the better part of this first hour basically covering all sorts of different places and never really being in the same place at the same time. It's been really, really fascinating to watch.
When you consider, right before they did their divergence, they were literally checking Blind's Hut at the same exact time, pretty much in sync. It's just so crazy to think that after all that, they're kind of converging up again.
So we'll see what's inside the Pyramid Fairy's location. We just have the arrow upgrade and a heart piece. Yikes, every chest you open at this point, you really just gotta wonder, where on earth is this? Because you're looking for 2 things at this point. There's one of them, actually.
There's one of them, yep.
So what does that do for us, though? That lets us go and take care of Ice Palace. Well, we could do that anyway. And Misery Mire is now, without a doubt, beatable. So we'll see just how quickly Odin makes a play on both of these crystal dungeons, with hopes of still finding the bow, which can literally be anywhere except for upstairs Ganon's Tower at this point. Could even be on Trinax. I mean, who knows?
Yeah, I think it's going to come down to that bow location at this point, because that is literally all Odin really needs to find at this point.
Well, that's nice, getting a heart piece and filling up yet another heart container. So we'll see Odin rush across to check out the checkerboard cave. As docuhorror sees his can of Samaria, rushes up immediately to get that. And then heads into the Pyramid Fairy Cave himself.
And again, that sword difference, I think, really is going to be quite huge, because there's a chance, Doc, you could go straight for Mire, and I'd almost say that Mire's worse than Swamp with the fighter sword.
Especially considering we don't have the bow, yes. That would not be a Vidi fight I would wish on anybody. Ever.
Yeah, it's a really, really tough fight. So, I mean, just having Tempered Sword, having a cape, and even Burna for that matter, just to kind of give some extra safety in that fight is going to do really, really well for Odin. I think he still has his safety bottles too, so he's definitely in a good position right now.
Yeah, that's very true. And just to speculate, we'll see right now, since Docu is fluting away to, are we going to number 8? Or number 6, so yeah, there you go with that Misery Mire play as well. I mean, just to speculate that little bit on the sword difference again, if we happen to find the bow in Misery Mire, which would be great for the upcoming Vitreous fight. Oh, of course, we're not in Go mode and we find a big key for it like right away. That always seems to happen. But yeah, if we happen to find that bow soon, then a Swamp Palace might be a Go mode. We might not get the Spike Cave. And unfortunately, Odin may wind up with the Fighter Sword for quite a while. But let's just see what happens. We don't know for sure.
To answer a question in chat, the 2 sword upgrades that Odin has that Docu doesn't have, one was in the left side and the other one was in Spike Cave.
Yeah, so just kind of clunky, out-of-the-way locations that nobody ever really wants to go to.
There's one.
That was only item number 1, that heart piece.
That's right, I believe that is only the first item, so just one more item to find in Mire.
Yep, just the 2 in Misery Mire, that's it. A pretty good amount of locations in it, though. I believe 8 locations in total in the dungeon, and only 2 items. So there's a decent amount to go through for relatively little.
And it looks like he is putting off the big key chest. Solid idea, just because it does take a long time to get through that section. Plus it has a cutscene as well, so going to be covering all of his other bases before having to check that. May not even have to. Yeah,
definitely especially if it's correct, a more efficient routing choice because of a timely manner, being able to cover more ground. And there we have, actually, speaking of item number 2, Magic Powder.
Oh, and I bet that's going to be really, really nice, because he does have the net, so if he does need some fairies or something to get on standby, he has that.
Oh, there's, yeah, tons of anti-fairies, a couple of bunny beams just in this room alone. And I think another 4 or so, maybe even 5 anti-fairies between here and Vitreous.
Yeah, that's right. They definitely give you some chances to heal up before that fight. docuhorror taking quite a bit of damage here. Gonna need to be a little careful.
Yeah, if you can just hang on a little bit more and get that powder. I think he's still got a potion or 2 in the bottle anyway, but that powder is definitely going to help to maintain that health a little bit easier. As Odin is just about set from these dark rooms. We'll just hit this crystal switch, walk down, walk to the left. And then, yeah, we are going to have 2 very, very different Vitreous fights coming up.
Yeah, as we were talking about earlier, Fighter Sword Vitreous can be really, really frustrating to deal with. Won't be able to do any Pegasus boot strats with dashing through them. Quite literally just needs to use sword spins to get each individual buff, so Odin's going to have a lot less time to get through this and just be a lot better fight.
Running out of magic at the cape, not a bad idea to just try to get in there and just get those slashes in on the eyeballs. I believe it's 6 slashes per eyeball with the tempered sword. Or 3 spins, but then the big eye here taking a whopping 16 hits in total. Spin attacks counting for 2 in this case. But nicely done. Made it through alive, and that's what matters.
Yeah, and that's going to be Odin's 6th crystal. Just needs 1 more crystal before he can access Ganon's tower. And at this point, it's really looking like Bo could be in Ganon's tower, but such a hard call to make with so many other options just kind of on the sidelines, like Turtle Rock could still be in Pod for all we know. There's some overworld locations here and there that still need to be checked, so there's a lot of opportunities for that bow to pop up somewhere.
Yeah, especially since two of these pendant dungeons are very, very high density dungeons. Ice Palace only has 3 items, but obviously it's our last crystal, so that's what Odin is going to go for straight away.
And if he finds the bow in here, he's going to be just booking it to the end of the game, because he will have that last item he needs for go mode.
And docuhorror does not have any empty bottles, which actually is... well, now he does. I was going to say, that's actually a good thing. That means that you're well stocked, ready to go for Vitreous. But we're going to catch this fairy right here and have 2 fairies in a bottle. I do see, too, that docuhorror has a pretty good stash of bombs, which, if you don't want to get too close with the fighter sword, totally understandable. You can throw a bomb straight into the mess of the little eyeballs. And what is it, like 12 bombs, I think. Actually, it might be more. It's a lot of bombs, but you can damage them all simultaneously by throwing bombs in. You can keep your distance a little bit easier. It's definitely going to be a safer strat that we may see get used.
Yeah, the tricky thing about bombs is just because while you're throwing them at the Vitreous eyeballs, sometimes the eyeballs will be coming forward at you as well, so you won't necessarily get all of them, but at this point I do agree that would probably be the safest method for docuhorror right now.
Odin almost getting the quick Stalfos room.
Ooh, yeah, almost.
And instead, nailing that second Stalfos while he was up in the air. Yeah, that guy was in for a nice surprise, I guess. Odin hitting the switch, too, so we're going to see an Ice Palace bomb jump.
And I actually do know that Odin has been practicing this strat, recently learned it. Unfortunately, too low right there.
That looks like it. There we go. Nice jump. And on the note of bombs, once again, here we have docuhorror just using them as not frugally, as liberally as possible. Just trying to take out these eyes. Doing a pretty nice job dodging them, too. They're going to do a full 3 hearts of damage with the blue mail, so any sort of contact is very, very scary at this point.
In Randomizer, you definitely have to use your resources, and that's exactly what Docu is doing right now.
Yep, that's what it's about. Even the lightning strikes from the big eye, you know, it kind of looks like it should be centered toward the screen, but I have seen some absolutely crazy bolt patterns from this guy.
Yeah, it's insane how far that lightning can go. And
but there we go. We got a couple of these eyes down already. You notice too that when Vitreous was kind of popping out of the goo, that bomb didn't even damage it. So Not even going to get a little bit of head start on damage against Vitreous itself. Got to be really, really careful here. I know he's got those fairies, but one more hit, and we will be using one of them. Nice choice to try and go with the hammer strats as well. There we go, taking out the last small eye. And then again, with this hammer hitbox, facing up like that is actually a very, very scary way to handle this.
Yeah, it
from the
is.
side can make it a little bit easier, but I mean, as we just saw, Vitreous just hop right over that upward hammer swing. Come on, Docu, you got this.
Ooh, okay, that's another fairy, unfortunately.
There we go, get that nice little rhythm going. It's definitely best to try to keep Vitreous like down in one of the corners. So if you like stand a little bit higher up in the room, you should have a little bit of an easier time with this. Down to 1 heart. This is scary. There's nothing you can do. Regular slashes are not going to hurt it with the Cane of Burna, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Hammer's the only option at this point, unfortunately taking that last bit of damage.
Nice shot, though. Like we said before, that's a really, really rough fight, so...
Yeah, very, very solid effort. I said a few moments ago that that's not a setup for the Vitreous fight that I would wish on anybody, and I meant it. It is not fun. It is not an easy one, but...
Meanwhile, it looks like Odin is making his way to Cold Stare now, so gonna be seeing this last crystal drop, hopefully very, very soon.
You know, as much as I'd like to hope, too, that Docu can actually find the bow and head back to Vitreous with the bow, that possibility may not exist.
That's very true. That's a good point. That may not happen in the seed. With that bow could be.
And just a compass off of Cold Stare, so... 7 crystals? Still no bow?
I don't know. DT, what do you think you would do in this situation?
You know, I don't know. I want to say I would head straight to Ganon's Tower. Honestly, and speaking of having all 7 crystals, we do have a fun little game that we like to play for which chest or which location the big key is going to be in, but that comes with a conundrum right now because we are still looking for the bow. Be that as it may, the bow could be in the Ganon's Tower big chest, and it seems Odin is a little bit leery on heading straight up there as well, so you've got a little bit of time, folks, to get those guesses in.
Yeah,
you know,
a little bit of time before that happens.
Yeah, I've seen a few people in chat hoping for the worst and hoping that it's going to be like on Trinax or somewhere in Turtle Rock, but where do you think the bow's going to be, too? I mean, we've got those 2 things that we're looking for.
I'm kind of with you on that. I think I would have actually made the Ganon's Tower gamble, because if it's in there, I mean, there's so many chests in there, too. And I feel like that would almost be the safest bet, because if you get it, you're already in the place where you need to be to finish the game. So I'd say almost that would be the good...
No,
wanted to check these other locations first.
Wouldn't this be something? We know that it's not with Sahasrara or in Eastern, but I don't think that... I mean, Odin hasn't been to Sahasrara at all. I don't think he's been to Eastern at all, either.
No, he hasn't. We do find the silvers, though, in Palace of Darkness.
That's a good start. Unfortunately, can't stab Vitreous with those. But Odin's going to carry on, and I actually think I missed it. Was Docu able to continue further on in Pod, or did he just bounce on it?
I don't know. It looks like he did kind of bounce on it.
Well, he still has all of Swamp to go through. So if nothing else, that second sword from the left side is going to help considerably.
I was wondering, maybe, did he think he got key locked or bow locked then? Like,
it is possible. And if that's the case, then yeah, obviously the bow isn't here.
But that also narrows things down for Odin, so he doesn't have to necessarily worry about coming back down here.
I mean, all we can really do is kind of sit and wait and see where it's going to show up, because quite honestly, I know I've said it a few times now, I just don't know where it could be. There's too many high-density locations. Most probable, of course, is Ganon's Tower, just because that is the most dense location remaining, but that's not to take the other places lightly, and that's clearly Odin sharing the same sentiments there, wanting to check out these other spots.
Honestly, it could end up being at... It could be at the Magic Bat. We have not seen what the powder will yield as well, so...
That's true.
Could be in a high-volume location like Ganon's Tower, or it could be just a single overworld location that's not been picked up on one of our runners.
Right. And this is where the game can start to play some sort of tricks on your mind as well, because we know that it's not going to be in Eastern Palace, but if Odin were to find it here, for instance, it could easily make him feel immediately behind, because it is such an accessible place from the beginning. Conversely, not
That's true.
It could play a mind game in the opposite direction and just make you think, just where on Earth? Why am I not finding it? Where is it? It's just the nature of the game that when you're looking for that one thing, you want to find it in that very next chest, and that's just not how it works most of the time.
Definitely not. At this point, with how fast some of these items have gotten to me, I would be thinking, oh wow, did I just miss something very obvious? Is my opponent about to finish? Little does Odin know in this case is Docu still has a couple of crystals to gain, so definitely I'd say he is in the lead right now, just being done with all the crystals at this point, but until he finds that bow, he is not going to be feeling ahead at all.
Yeah, definitely, because you're in your own perspective. We have the collective view of everything, and we as commentators and chat can see both instances. It's tough to tell what goes through the runners' minds, but sometimes you can speculate a little bit. And that's it, Eastern Palace is done, so Odin's gonna mirror straight out, take this portal, head back, or head into, for the first time, the Palace of Darkness.
To kind of counter that, the possibility of the bow being on Trinex, we actually don't have the means to even kill Trinex right now, which is another interesting fact. So it could be a case where Ice Rod's in Ganon's Tower, and then we have to beat up Trinex for the bow.
Oh my. If that happens, I quit.
You heard it here, folks. DT's quitting if that happens.
Oh man, tell everybody, why don't you?
You said it.
I'm just speaking my own thoughts out loud. You're the one that told everybody.
Oh, fair enough.
There we go. Nice full magic refill that Daki was picking up from an enemy drop.
Oh yeah, definitely. And yeah, it looks like the silvers. Yeah, the Palace of Darkness is bow locked at this point.
Or was there a key in this bottom chest? I don't
know.
No,
this is where the silvers were.
This is where the silvers were. Okay, so yeah. It's not here. That leaves us with... I mean, let's just generalize this. Turtle Rock, or Ganon's Tower.
Or Magic Bat.
Or Magic Bat. Did we see both tablets? Did we see the Bombos tablet?
I actually don't know. I don't think we did. Maybe... You know, I don't think Odin's done Purple Chest yet, so what he could be doing here is maybe before going up Death Mountain, kind of checking these very quick overworld spots, and then maybe make the play afterwards.
Yeah. I'm at a loss. I mean, it's down to one of these last locations. That's just it.
Yeah, like
docuhorror on the heels of the Master Sword, though. Just gotta head over to the right side after this. The right side of the left side, rather. I should clarify that. And I wonder if Odin is, well, not going to the bat, because that's the opposite direction.
Well, again, I think he has a purple chest to do too, so he's going to be maybe mirroring over there. I'd hope so, anyway.
That could be. Yeah, I think you're right. I'm not sure that that was taken care of. Or we can head up to the Bumper Cave. Was there a sword here?
It was the red mail, I believe.
It was the red mail, okay. So that's fine, just to get one more safety. Unfortunately, that pterodactyl is just being obnoxious, but red mail makes them obnoxious no more. Actually, that's a lie. They're always obnoxious.
Yeah, they are. The light world crows fly away after a while. The murderdactyls in the dark world do not. They just stick around until you are dead or you destroy them.
Yeah, I recently learned, actually, that some of them, or actually between the crows and the pterodactyls, they all kind of have like their own individual AI.
Yeah.
I think someone was saying that. And they'll behave slightly differently.
That would not surprise me.
So yeah, it's possible Odin's thinking that it's just better to check all of these things. That collectively it might be quicker than doing Ganon's Tower. And just not wanting to have to double dip up there. So, if that's the mindset, then it's certainly not one that I can take any sort of disagreement with, because I've been there. Every runner that plays this game has been in a similar situation. Possibly not to this extreme, but you've got decisions to make, and like I said, like toward the very beginning of this race, one of the most important things is to just keep moving. If you know you've got locations to check, just keep moving, keep checking them. And Odin's done a really spectacular job with that.
Yeah, the one thing that can definitely get you kind of holed up in Rando for a while is if you just kind of just stay still with like the menu screen or the map screen up, trying to figure out where you've been. Because during that, like, you're not only are you just not doing anything, but you're just kind of wasting that time and kind of like putting the controller down, which just kind of takes you away from the game mentally a little bit. So you just kind of have to just keep moving, just to kind of keep things going and just do something, I feel like.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right.
I don't think he's done Catfish either.
You are absolutely right about that as well. So we'll see that play, and then... I mean, you keep saying Magic Bat. I guess you really want to see someone just check the Magic Bat.
Well, I do. It's something we have not seen yet, and we did get the powder in Myers, so that could be where it is.
I mean, yeah, it's generally a pretty sound, logical reasoning to go for things that the items you're getting unlock. So it's just a matter of time. We'll find out.
Thankfully for Odin, like, while he is kind of checking all these overworld locations, he's not exactly like he still has a kind of a huge lead built up from before. Doc still has to go through and get the remaining 3 crystals, so he has some time to be checking these locations. He doesn't know that, but he definitely has that.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's one of those things where the mental game comes in. It's like, how much longer can I spend checking these things before my opponent is going to bypass me if they haven't already?
Right.
It's a tough thing to just not focus on that, just play your own game, because it's in the back of every runner's mind at some point.
Okay, docuhorror does finish up the Argus fight, gets his 5th crystal, still has to go back to Meyer, finish up Vitreous, and still has to make their way through Ice Palace as well, so...
Well, here we go.
Okay.
Your Mad Batter Magic Bat Dude check.
Come on, Batman. Are you going to help us out today?
Only if it's a doctor.
Well...
I can't lie. I always find it amusing when you see vanilla items for the first time.
Yeah, yeah. It's pretty good. Na vanilla.
Alright, so we get half magic from the bat.
So I think after Odin delivers this purple chest and checks bombos, I think at that point he just has Turtle Rock and Ganon's Tower left.
Yeah, and with the routing that we've seen him take so far, we could very easily see him go for Turtle Rock first.
Oh, and Cave 45 too.
Although I think Docu actually did check
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, I think he did as well.
So onward he goes. As Docu was entering the Ice Palace, heading through that first Freezor room. His first Jelly room, picks up the small key, and is about to head downstairs.
Oh, he didn't do Stumpy either.
I didn't realize that. Good time to get a heart container, though.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And I wonder if he did actually do the bombos. Okay, probably not. We're going back to the Dark World.
Yeah, I don't think he did either, because I don't think either players even checked that. So.
I know the Ether tablet was looked at, and that was just 10 arrows.
Mm-hmm.
And here we go, just bombs from the lunchbox. We'll head just a little bit further west. And we actually did see Bombos. I'm realizing that we did see Bombos just a moment ago from Docu.
Oh, okay. I did not catch that then, I guess.
It's just like coming into my mind like deja vu right now. I believe it was a 5-arrow upgrade.
Yep, it is.
Alright, up the mountain we go.
Now here's the decision. Ganon's Tower or Turtle Rock?
You know, at this point I say take the Light World path up the mountain, open Turtle Rock, and then go to Ganon's Tower. That way, if it's not in Ganon's Tower, or if you need to go to Turtle Rock because you find the Ice Rod in Ganon's Tower, it's already open. You don't have to transition between Light and Dark World.
Yeah, I think the Ice Rod would be the one thing kind of holding me back from checking Turtle Rock first. I think Ganon's Tower first would be probably the better play at this point.
And judging by the early Dark World entry, I assume that's what we're going to see.
Because the last thing you want to do is do double dip of Turtle Rock and Ganon's Tower.
Is it really the last thing you would want to do?
Okay, last thing you'd want to do is a triple dip of both. I suppose that could work somehow in the logic, but yeah, in this particular scenario.
Well, on the other side, though, Daku's getting through Ice Palace pretty quickly. We're already well into one of the deeper basement levels.
Okay.
Trying to line up this ice physics, it's not easy.
Looks like we are getting Ganon's Tower searched first, so I hope everyone remembered what their big key guesses were.
Well, let's check this out. Just a reminder for those of you coming in, we're down to one of 2 locations to find the bow. We need the bow at this point to be in definitive go mode. And Odin not picking up a small key in this first room, still deciding to go right. Are we seeing a tile room play?
We might be seeing a tile room play with the... Oh, wait, no. Okay, maybe not.
Well, we did just literally see tile room, and that was about it.
We saw it, yeah, for sure.
We'll see that heading left side. What's on our torch for item number 3? We have a small key. We'll grab that and keep on going. Into the Stelphos room for location number 4 and 5, both small keys. Number 6 is a bomb upgrade. Number 7 is the map, so at least we know our way around the tower now.
Okay, here's chest number 8, which is the number I normally guess for these. Nope.
I did not even guess.
I don't think I did either, but that's always my default anyway, so...
Nice bonk to get over that fire snake. And move on up, push this block, hookshot across the pit. And number 9 is another bomb upgrade. Four more locations to check quickly here in the randomizer room.
Given that name, because you would never see this room in a normal playthrough of the game.
There it is.
Whoa, there's the bow. Go mode has been obtained for Odinspack and the gold sword as well.
That's actually going to wind up being really, really good for Docu.
That is, yes. He will have at least that instead of tempered, or instead of Master Sword.
Interesting routing, though, to see Odin mirror out at this point and head straight to the right side.
Thankfully, that's not going to matter too much, because you can still get to the other chests on the left side. He may have just gotten a little excited that he found the bow and mirrored accidentally, but...
Could have been.
But yeah, thankfully, he's not going to have to go around the left side again.
Yeah, we'll get to these 4 chests on the right side pretty quickly. And then continuing on this path, Ice Armos isn't too much further behind that.
And thankfully, he got through that door instead of bonking on the side of it, so got kind of lucky there.
So I don't even know what chest number we're on at this point, but there's our big key, so the right call was made. Now we can head upstairs. There's one more small key we'll get from one of the many Helmosaurs, and we're good to go.
I believe that was number 15, by the way, if I was counting correctly.
Well, I presume that you probably were.
I don't know, you'd be surprised. But yeah, Odinspack is officially in go mode now. Just needs to climb this tower. Thankfully, he has enough small keys to make it through the rest of it, too. So yeah, he is going to be approaching the end game. Docuhorror fighting Cold Stare now. Still going to have to go back and have his rematch against Vitreous. But after that, doesn't have too many locations left, so I expect Ganon's Tower will be checked not too much longer from now, once he gets to that point.
not having the half magic, running out of fire rod shots, relying at this point on the Master Sword. One of the puffs is down. It seems to be taking some good patience and distance, not wanting to take any damage. Getting a couple of quick hits on the Cold Stare puffs as he's able to.
Yeah, if you have to get hit in this fight, you want to get hit by the icicles that drop, not Cold Stare himself, because that is a whole lot of damage you do not want to be taking.
And as you see there, actually, as Daki was up at the very top of the screen, those icicles would fall and just kind of poof. They wouldn't divide up into the four. Because they kind of land on the wall at that point, and they can actually be used as a little bit of a safe strategy if you want to try to avoid a little bit more damage. There we go, 1 heart, clutch finish on Cold Stare. Nicely done, picking up crystal number 6.
All he's got left before the bow search is just a quick rematch against Vitreous. Should be a lot better now that he has Master Sword and more health to work with, so it'll be a better fight in general, but still doesn't have Tempered Sword like Odin did, so it's still going to be a slight difference in what he had to work with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one of the biggest advantages, though, is that even though the Master Sword is still kind of like a little toy to Vitreous, at least you can hit it with regular swings. So you can use the Cane of Burna, walk up, and just slash away if you want to, and you'll still be able to do some damage. So it is a huge, huge advantage over Fighter Sword.
Definitely. And a little extra rounds with Lamnolas too there for Odin, but makes it through just fine, working his way to the top floors of the tower.
And Daku actually going to get his half magic right now, so that'll make the aforementioned Burna strats even more safe.
Yes, definitely.
Odin having a little bit of trouble with the second Wizrobe room. Trying to set up the Samaria block, not quite getting it in between them until that last one. Taking out the last 2 robes and moving on down this fun little bridge.
Yeah, you gotta expect at this point that the nerves have got to be getting to him at this point. He just now got into go mode recently, spent a lot of extra time looking for that bow, knows that if his opponent went straight to Ganon's tower after the fact, could be getting it much sooner than he did. And, you know, this being his first tourney race, and not just this tournament, but of all time, and just not being used to this kind of pressure, I can imagine the nerves are definitely getting to him right now.
Odin taking the scenic route on the second torch room. But yeah, just to add to what Slim just mentioned a moment ago, I'd like to see everyone show some love and support in chat right now for our runners that are doing really, really well. Daku's pushing along beautifully, continuing on. And let's just let them know, hey, the game's tough, we're here for you. You got this. Keep going, you got this.
And it's like, you gotta remember, like, both runners, hi Mirror Shield, both runners had deaths to bosses in the seed, so I mean, you know, it's something that both runners had to end up dealing with.
You know, it's taken me till the end to realize this, but why on earth would Ganondorf be having a problem with any of his bosses? I mean, I guess Ganondorf isn't technically visible in this game.
Right, right.
Although if you keep track of Zelda lore, I believe this was the first game to actually mention Ganondorf.
Yeah, that's true. And there's the Ice Rod and the Moldorm 2 chest.
Well, so all of those crazy theories clearly not going to be the case. Trinex, I mean, you know, I'll just humor you, chat. Trinex could have the shovel, if that makes you guys happy.
Yeah, the shovel looks to be like the only item, the only Y item not accounted for, aside from some extra bottles.
I mean, we could just totally joke around with this and say that that Trinex might have, like, egg in him or something, since that's not marked off too, but obviously that's...
Yeah.
That's not gonna happen.
Nah.
Pretty nice Aga 2 patterns, though. Speaking of. Getting blue-balled right there, unfortunately, but, I mean, how many hits does he have on now? Several, at least. Can't be too much more. 1 or 2, possibly.
Yeah, I imagine it's, like, either 1 or 2, for sure.
There
2
was
it
2.
is. Okay, so it is time for Odinspack's fight against Ganon, the last fight in the game. Coming into this fight with silver arrows, gold sword, red mail, all the items, half magic, all the items you'd ever want for a Ganon fight. So this should be a breeze, I'd imagine.
Yeah, at this point it's a very, very safe endeavor. 6 hits, 6 slashes with the, or spins even, with the Butter Sword is going to take you through Phase 1 and Phase 2. And then another 4 hits for Phase 3, and then our 4 silver hits for Phase 4.
I think he still has those safety items too from earlier, so even if he does take some damage, he should be okay.
Down to 1 heart, and speaking of being down on any sort of inventory, we have Docu that is now out of bombs again.
Oh no.
Using those strategies on the Vitreous Eyeballs, but fortunately having half magic this time and doing double spins against these eyeballs is actually making this fight go much, much quicker this time around. Although, I believe the spin attacks are still absolutely necessary. Oh, no, they're not. I lied.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah. With Master
so-
Sword, you can at least poke it.
Right, that's just Ganon that you have to spin with Master Sword. So at least at this point, it's safe to just stand there and slash frantically. Speaking of frantic, Odin with 1 heart, hopefully doing pretty well on his end, staying composed. Getting that hit in.
Plus, I still think he has that fairy too, so even if he does take a death, he should be okay.
This might do it, though. Setting that up.
There it is!
That double get hits number 3 and 4. And GG, Odin. What a run. And there we have Odinspack coming in first place with an official time of 1 hour, 52 minutes, and 45 seconds.
And right as he does that, docuhorror does finish his rematch against Vitreous. He now has his 7th crystal. All he has to do now is just make his way to Ganon's tower to find his bow and then finish the seed as well. But yeah, get your GGs in chat, everyone, for Odinspack, finishing his first tournament race with a win under his belt. Very, very nicely done.
Ooh, nice. There was room to get through there between those dead rocks. I actually wasn't sure. And I'm trying to think what other locations Docu might have had before heading up to Ganon's tower. But it seems that he's going to head straight up to Death Mountain first. I know that he's already kind of cleared out what he can with Pod, so I don't think that there was much else left to do.
Yeah, because he had Eastern cleared out early. He did all he did with House of Darkness. He hasn't checked Spike Cave yet, so he could get that Tempered Sword there.
Oh, that's true.
And, of course, the half magic at Magic Bat, but I think that's about it. So he didn't have as many options left that Odin did.
So I guess Docu still needed to check the Ether tablet as well. For not having the book the first time that he came up here, but heading east on Death Mountain now. we'll see. You know, he may still decide to head into Turtle Rock, because that bow could very easily be in there by the logic. Unfortunately, getting blocked by this dead rock. Just pop inside this cave real quick, head on out. And shouldn't have a problem getting by these two this time. Nicely done. Just a little bit more to go. And that's right, the portal's already open. So that'll save a little bit of time, that's always helpful. Docu, gonna open it, okay. Does not mean we're gonna go in, but Turtle Rock is at least being opened right now. And we are going in, so let's take a look what's inside Turtle Rock. This first chest, just a small key. As we continue on to the right side of this torch room. And we have Odinspack.
Have him in the setup room anyway.
Yeah, it seems I can't click and drag in this one. There we go. Odinspack. GG. Well done.
Hello.
Hello indeed. How are you?
Oh man, that was nerve-wracking. I've never been so nervous like doing one of these races. It's nothing like the SRL ones.
Well, you did a fantastic job, man. Very nicely done. How do you feel about that bow location?
Oh my god, I was debating. Like as soon as I finished Ice Palace, I think that was my last crystal. I was like, I should just gamble it. Maybe I'm really far behind, and I should just gamble it. And apparently, I should have done that. Probably would save like 20 minutes, I think, or something like that.
It's one of those things though where you just don't know what to do, and that's not a bad thing. You had so many other locations, and one thing that we commented on was that no matter what it was you were doing, you kept moving, you kept checking locations, and that's ultimately what's the most important thing.
Yeah, I knew that's the thing. I was like, if I go in Ganon Tyrant's not in here, I gotta go all the way back up here. I still got a bunch of stuff to check. I thought it might have been an independent dungeon, but I knew I wasn't going in Turtle Rock. I was like, no, if I'm up that far, I'm just going in Ganon's Tower.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. And then, finding the ice rod where you did as well, there was no way that a Trinex possibility was even going to be a thing then.
No.
But you did really, really well. Let's see, your moth fight, you had to refight that. What was going through your mind when that happened?
Okay, so when I got there, and I had like no health, fighter sword, and basically no magic, I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna wing it, see if I can do it, because that would save me a bunch of time. Of course, it lost me a bunch of time, but then like I knew I had to go back to Village Outcast anyway, so I was like, okay, I'll just do Mothula while I'm here because I need to do it anyway. So and I was like, I had I think Master Sword at that point, a lot more health, so
Sure.
and
Yeah,
safeties too. I had a fairy, so
yeah, and that all makes sense. Yeah, you went in the first time with 1.5 hearts, and yeah, it was such a solid effort. It really, really was. But that refight, you just went in there, you showed him right away who was boss and that you weren't going to take any of it.
No, I wasn't having it with Mothula that time.
Yeah, unfortunately, your opponent also had similar problems, but not with Mothula, but with Vitreous. Unfortunately, did not find Master or Tempered Sword before he took on Vitreous, so had a huge disadvantage going into that fight. Unfortunately, took a death and had to come back later. Just finished Vitreous not too long ago. So You both kind of had the same kind of issues, but thankfully you were able to, for you anyway, thankfully you were able to kind of just take a break for a moment, come back, recompose yourself, and come back with that victory.
Yeah. He must have checked Pyramid Ledge first then, like really early, because I didn't get Cane of Samaria for quite a bit. And I got the upgraded swords, that was Spike Cave and I think Swamp Palace, I think,
yes.
had one too, right? So
yes. Funny thing, you actually did get Cane of Samaria before he did.
Really?
The big thing that happened in this race is that after Kakariko, you both took way different routes. He actually went up to Death Mountain immediately. Sequence broke up there and kind of got the flute and flippers before you did, while you kind of went to Dark World and did a lot of that stuff and did near locations too. So very different routes. It kind of reconverged at that point where you found Cane of Samaria, and that's when you both went to Misery Mire. But unfortunately, that's when he kind of took his death to Vitreous, and you kind of gained a lot of ground there.
Right, yeah, dying of Vitreous is the worst, because you have to go through that whole dungeon again, basically.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty bad. I have a question.
Oh my gosh.
What happened at the beginning? Like, is that... it just wouldn't open. It wouldn't open. I was worried that was going to lock me out of something, like, important.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I was really, really curious about that. I mean, as weird and broken as this game is, I can only speculate that maybe some sort of button combination just temporarily disabled your A button. I'm not really sure, because you were picking up the pots and throwing them at the guards right in the very next room. Yeah,
that's the thing. I was confused. I saw the input for the A button on my screen. I'm like, why is this not working? I don't get it. It just wasn't opening. So that I was so nervous. I was like, this better open on the way back.
Thankfully it did.
It did, yes.
Oh man.
But yeah, we're at a loss just as much as you are. We had no idea what was happening there. Like that's insane how that even came to be.
It couldn't have had anything to do with the Cane of Burna, right? I don't know. My game was lagging up a storm. My computer can just not handle all this.
I mean, all I can say is that maybe it's possible. I know that there's new quote-unquote glitches and whatnot being discovered so frequently with this game. I know Cane of Samaria can do like fake powder, and you can actually refill your magic meter in certain situations by using the Cane of Samaria. So maybe the Cane of Burna prevents you from opening treasure chests sometimes. I really don't know.
I was actually worried I was going to run out of magic at the beginning there.
Oh, yeah.
After I got that bomb, like right away, I was like, oh, yes.
Yeah, it looks like you did find... Did you check the pots in the room before the key rat? Because it seemed like you gained a little more. Okay, so yeah.
I did, yeah. On the bottom, there's... I knew there was one. I figured there had to be, because there's a whole bunch of torches around. It's like, this is Link to the Past. It would be pretty nice. They'll give you some magic.
And it did, so that's good.
There was some. Oh yeah, there was no commentator bias. I hope during this race.
Not at all. Not at all.
Oh, I was so happy I was able to pull off those tricks.
Yeah, you did a really, really good job with that. So yeah, definitely congratulations. How do you feel? Your first tournament race, you come out with a win. So how does that feel after that?
Pretty stoked, not gonna lie. But now it means that I gotta play against people who are also 1-0. So I gotta brush up on my game to make sure I can compete.
Well, that's a good segue into a question that I'd like to ask fairly early on in these tournaments, whenever I've commentated. What do you feel that you could take away from this one? Are there things you could feel like you could improve on? What do you feel like you did well? Just reflect on it as a whole for a moment.
I think just maybe some routing options. Like when I went, I was like, should I go into Turtle Rock? And then I decided against it because I was going to go Spike Cave, and I didn't know if Bombos would leave me with enough magic, for instance. Like, I feel like that's what was going through my head when I did that, by the way.
Sure, that makes sense.
And I was like, yeah, just routing, I think, in general. That's a lot of things I got to learn, a lot of the tricks. Like, I did like the staircase hook what is it? I don't know what it's actually called. It's like hyperspeed. I
Yeah,
did that
the
once, but like I was way too nervous to do it later on because I was like, I'm gonna mess this up. Like I'm just gonna go for it. And I think just in general, I think just focusing my nerves a bit, realizing that I am racing against somebody, but I'm also just playing through the game as well.
Yeah, and that's really the gist of it. You want to focus on your own gameplay, and of course, you know that you want to play well because you know that people are watching. But at the end of the day, I mean, when it comes down to it, the best of the best runners make mistakes, and things just happen. But you keep pressing on, and that was something that you did really, really well this entire time. And yeah, you just have a really good attitude about this all in all. So keep it up. I definitely look forward to seeing how you do in the future rounds and seeing what you continue to learn.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. Like I'm really looking forward to this tournament. It was Slim actually kind of made me sign. He didn't make me sign up for it, but he kind of encouraged me to sign up for the tournament. And honestly, it's been a lot of fun. I'm kind of sorry I missed the key sanity one. I'm a really big fan of that mode, but so I didn't know how I was gonna do for this. I practiced a couple of seeds before today, and I was actually really worried that I was gonna get bombs at the beginning because that was the one I was like most uncomfortable with, was using bombs through Hyrule Castle.
Sure. One thing I want to ask then, if you've played so much, or if you really prefer key sanity and whatnot, did you find it difficult at all if you were trying to count dungeon items?
Actually, this is the first race I actually used a tracker, like, to actually keep me. I was like, I don't want to go for extra items in case I don't have to. So key sanity, that I guess I'm just not as good at it. I just like it more. I don't have it. I've never really tracked key sanity at all. Even though actually I messed up the tracker when I went back for like the big chest for Mothula. I was like, oh,
right.
I was like, oh, I guess I actually got the dungeon items. I was unsure, so.
Yeah, I believe that was where you got the net before. So, and again, you can easily forget about stuff like that.
Yeah, the net I used once. I used it like right there. I was like, I'll get a fairy. Why not?
And you kept that fairy for the rest of the seed, so.
Yeah, that's why I didn't heal again. I was like, you know what? I get 1 heart, but if I die, I got a fairy, so I wasn't really worried.
That's good.
Oh, he's in the G Tower now.
Yep, we have
This is the worst.
We have docuhorror heading through the left side Ganon's Tower, approaching the randomizer room where we know we're going to find the bow. And he still has the Master Sword, so we're going to hope that he opens all 4 chests in that room and at least gets the Tempered as well.
I think he will because the big key's on the other side.
Oh no. Oh no, oh no. He doesn't have any bombs.
Ooh.
I don't know if any of these skull pots in the fire bar room have them.
Oh man.
I don't think you can get back over there either.
If you bonk off of the chest, you'd be able to.
Okay, yeah, the chest you would be able to.
Oh, that is so unfortunate.
But yeah, the sword upgrade he did not get. He did not get the spike cave one, so.
Well, he'll at least get tempered.
Yeah, well, if he finds a way into this room anyway.
You know what? I hope he does.
Trying to use Samaria against it. You never know. He might find a glitch that none of us ever knew about. But yeah, looking at chat, apparently in the race that was before this, or going on when this race started, also had the bow in Ganon's Tower.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
A similar location, or?
I think it was in a different Ganon's Tower, though. I think it was in Tile Room, but yeah, like, still in Ganon's Tower, though.
Oh, that's even trollier, I think.
Yeah.
I honestly thought it was going to be in the big chest. I was like, I'm going to find the big key, and the bow is going to be in the big chest. Give a reason for that to be opened.
I mean, it certainly could have been. Randomizer certainly gets into its moods every now and then. Now, there are 2 bombs in this room that we can pick up. We're gonna have to use one of them right away to take care of this floor. 3 bombs, I guess. 4 bombs, I guess. Okay, good to learn something.
Yeah, it's 13 now, too, from another drop, I guess. So, thankfully, he has more than enough to go back.
Man, I got really lucky with the drops. Like, there was, like, one point in Skull Woods, I was gonna go back for magic, like, in that, like, back room. But
Right.
then, like, I killed one of the bats, and they dropped the full magic. I'm like, oh, sweet.
Yeah, you love when that happens. And apparently he got that 8 bomb dropped right after the wall, too, so that's very unfortunate.
Oh, he picked up the silvers, too.
Yep.
I was really nervous. I was like, what am I honestly going to find in here?
Yeah, we were wondering just how far you'd be able to get into the dungeon without being bow-locked. And then, just far enough to get the silvers, I guess, was the answer.
The thing is, I know there's that, like, glitch, that potion glitch, but I was like, well, the bow won't be behind there, so, like, I wasn't concerned about that. I think I tried doing that in practice, and like, I don't really know how this works. See, that's the kind of stuff that I feel like I gotta learn if I want to really try to compete.
Yeah, even still, I mean, just knowing, like, just kind of using the logic, oh, well, what I'm looking for is not behind there. I mean, that's honestly just as important, if not more so, than actually learning that. I don't think the potion glitch really decides a whole lot in the grand scheme of things, because there's only 2 chests back there. With Palace of Darkness, it could very easily be a small key. So it's like, you know, it would give you an advantage if there is something back there, but how often is that going to happen?
Right. I don't know if you wanted me to dip out or anything. I don't really know how these interviews work.
Typically, we ask questions and you answer.
Alright, I will remain quiet.
I'm just kidding with that. You are more than welcome to stick around with us if you'd like to.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, well, one thing that we were discussing for a while when you were looking for the bow is how something like that can affect the mental game. It's like when you're looking for one thing for so long, does it start to make you feel behind? We were wondering too, like if you found it in Sahasrara or even Eastern Palace, since those are theoretically such early places to check, like how immediately behind would that make a runner feel?
Yeah, I would have, if Bo was there, I would have felt super behind, honestly. I felt behind going up to Ganon's tower, because I'm like, what if maybe he dipped into Turtle Rock and it was in there and he's already got, like, and he's already up Ganon's tower at this point. Like, I felt I was behind the entire time. Like, maybe not the beginning of when I started looking for the items, but definitely once it, like 10-15 minutes rolled around, I still hadn't found the bow, and I was like, oh man, this isn't good.
Alright, well here we go. Now Daku is back to approaching the randomizer room with well more than enough bombs to spare.
Yo, he's gonna be furious.
We're gonna hope not. We don't want anyone to be upset.
I mean, like, in-game. Like,
Yeah, I know. We saw quite a few of those rage slashes from you once you opened the bow chest.
oh yeah. I was mad. I won't lie.
And here it is. Daku gets the bow, bombs it a couple of times, and then goes back to get the tempered sword. Okay, good. So we at least have tempered. We have the bow. We still do not have the big key. So he's going to have to head to the right side and then grab that. Fortunately, that was a pretty quick thing.
Yeah, big key was just in the compass room, I think that's called, right?
I
Yeah,
believe it is, yeah.
that is correct.
I haven't seen that room in the vanilla game in some time. So we're going to start with the tile room, though.
Yeah, I was actually wondering if you were going to do this strat, like, have you done the cape strat in this room before, Odin? The tile room one?
No, what's the cape strat?
Basically, if you enter the room, use the cape, and grab the wall, you will not lose magic, so you can kind of just like stay in one place without without having to move or anything. You just got you have to keep grabbing the wall though.
Mm-hmm.
I hope I never have to employ this.
It's very easy though. It's not too bad.
No, but that means I have to do tile room.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Normally, I'd toss out the whole if versus when thing, but at this point, I'm just going to say, well, when you eventually have to do that.
Yeah.
It's a really handy thing to know about.
Does the chest appear after a certain amount of time, or does the Wallmaster have to be off the screen?
The Wallmaster does count as an enemy that has to be off the screen. So even if all the tiles go and the Wallmaster is just falling, you're going to have to wait those couple of seconds unless you either kill it or it disappears.
Okay, that's good to know.
Okay, he does get the full magic drop from the pot in there, so he's going to start lighting the torches now. Ooh, conveyor belt giving him some trouble, though. Unfortunately, does not light all the torches. One of the torches do go out.
I still think it was pretty funny that Magic Bat actually had half magic. That was
Yeah,
I got a good laugh out of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we did too. Okay, he does make it through the room, so that's good. So he'll be picking up his big key shortly. And I guess while he's kind of making his way up Ganon's tower, just a quick refresher on what is coming up for this particular tournament. At 5:30 at ALTTPR Randomizer 2, we have Dragon Strike 1988 versus Seonti. So definitely check that out if you're interested. All these times are Eastern time, by the way. And then we have 2 matches at 6 o'clock. OPT Lawyer versus Claris.com on Speed Gaming 2. And Mr. Zanzig versus Kitosef on Speed Gaming 4. So there is more Randomizer to come. Not just today, but also for the next several weeks. So if you're interested, you like what you saw here today, definitely check out more of the matches coming up, because there will be a lot. 512 people in this tournament. It's a very, very stacked tournament, that's for sure.
So we see Docu finally heading upstairs and getting through that spike room with the mimics now. I'm going to try this nice little side strat to sort of manipulate the way that they walk. And pulling on the edge of a wall is another way that you can manipulate them. Some people will stand right in that first doorway and just slash a bunch while you hit the directional and manipulate them that way. There's a lot of really creative ways to control their movement.
And there are some runners, some who might be in this particular voice chat, that just kind of YOLO and just run straight to the through to all the mimics, which is also a viable strat.
That's the gung-ho strat.
Mm-hmm. It always works when I see you do it, so hey.
It doesn't. If I have silvers, all the time.
It's kind of an oddity that there are certain rooms in this game that are almost designed with speed in mind. Like, if you just head through it at full speed, it's always going to work. That kind of a thing. Like, the timing of the sprite movement of enemies and whatnot just matches up. Case in point, actually, is if you're going into the room right before Mothula, where you fall down, actually, if you walk straight up to the top and you hug that kind of half wall and immediately go down as soon as you're able to, that spike that goes left and right up at the top won't actually hit you, as long as you stay on the left side of it. So Doc, you taking a peek into the refill room. Got full health, full magic, full half magic, mind you, going into the gauntlet. So this should be quite quick, quite simple. Shouldn't give him too much of a hassle. Although that Stalfos, you can just never tell. Jumping away a little bit, but they stand still momentarily afterwards, so it's usually pretty easy to get an arrow shot in on them after.
Yeah, this is easily my worst part of this run in general, is the gauntlet.
It's probably one of the most RNG heavy parts of any run. It's the way that these enemies don't cooperate. And as Slim said, there are plenty of randomizer races coming up throughout the night, throughout tomorrow, throughout the upcoming weeks and days. So many races. And where are they going to be? They're all going to be on Speed Gaming's channels 1 through 6 and the ALTTP randomizer channels 1 through 4. So if you do want to keep watching this stuff, make sure that you're keeping up with all 10 of those channels to not miss out on anything.
And as usual on Speed Gaming, like not just home to this tournament, but a variety of other randomizer tournaments, other tournaments for other speed runs and categories of games. There's just a lot of races you can watch. Speed Gaming goes on for quite a long time, every single day on all of the channels. So a lot of content if you enjoy this kind of content.
Making nice work of the first Wiz Robe room. I can speak, excuse me. And we see that Spike get in the way of that Samaria blast, unfortunately not able to get more than one kill in Wiz Robes 2. There we go, we'll just wait for this last one to appear. Slash him, he's gone. And we're on to our conveyor bridge. 4 red guards. It's always fun watching the red guards get tripped up on the conveyor.
Yeah, it's like they installed it. Why are they having so much trouble with it?
I mean, they installed it, they live there, and they just don't know how it works. But a nice second Torches room as we move on to... Actually, I don't know what this room is called. I don't know if it has a name. But now we're on to Torches 2. We still need one more small key that we'll see get dropped from this mini Helma. And we'll open a chest, why not? Just a heart piece.
Well, the thing is, if he gets 4 heart pieces, he could get a health restore, so...
Definitely, and it'd be really good timing for one too. Even though we have powder, we're on the brink of being able to heal with that as it is.
I always feel like throwing a bomb in this room is very inconsistent. I don't know why. Sometimes, like, the bomb will get stuck on the wall. Sometimes it won't be close enough to the wall. It's a very weird room.
And we have a fire shield, which actually could come in handy against Aga to block any of the inevitable blue ball patterns. Two slashes on Maldorm 2. Almost a third, almost a third. Just kept slithering away. There we go. Maldorm 2 down.
And let's see if he picks up his Ice Rod, which will definitely not be helpful against Aga. And he does.
Electing to go for Bombos in the pinball room. Can't say that I blame him there. It's a very, very tough room if you don't get the dash up the middle relatively quickly. Because as soon as the mini Helmosaurs converge on you, there's just... I mean, people call it the pinball room for a reason.
And see, these enemies know how to use the conveyor belts. Like, what's the other enemy's excuse?
And they're pretty good at ice physics, too.
Yeah, exactly.
To take it one step further.
Chat bringing up a very, very interesting point. Does this mean that Shovel was on Trinex?
I cannot... Well, no, not necessarily, because we do have more locations in Pod.
Right, okay. We do have the bow now, that's true. And Green Pendant as well.
Yep, I don't recall if we got 2 or 3 items out of Eastern Palace either, so there are a couple of other options.
And there goes Aga 2 down for the count. Just Ganon remaining now.
The shovel could be in the big chest, couldn't it? Up here.
That's true. Yeah, it could be there as well. Or Tile Room. Oh, no, we checked.
No, we did see Tile
Room. Yeah, you're right. He checked Tile Room.
Yeah, big chest is another possibility then.
Big chest for sure.
So here we go now. A slight difference in the Ganon fight with the Tempered Sword versus Odin having Butter. It's going to take 12 slashes or 6 spins for each of the phases 1 and 2. And then it's going to be the same 4 hits and 4 silver arrows for phases 3 and 4.
Using the hook shot very nicely for when the bats kind of wave in and wave out, so...
Gotta be careful there, though. Standing on the left side of Ganon, those bats are looking for hugs. They're very, very friendly.
Thankfully, he does have a fairy. He does take a death, so that will allow him to get back up and continue. And he's opting for Burnistrats.
You know what? It works. We got half magic.
Yeah.
That's plenty of it to burn through. And we may have gotten... Yep, we got through at least 12 of the hits then, and we're on to phase 3. So we get through the first portion of it. Ganon is hit. The first part of the floor falls down. And he sure is warping around a lot. He's not sitting still. Did you find the arrows in the Dark Palace? Yes, actually, we did. Would you like to see them? We have 45 of them, and that's a lot more than we need, but I will show you all of them. Almost able to get a triple off of that first hit.
Ooh, gonna need to be a little careful. Ooh!
Hopefully having another fairy. I'm not sure what his inventory looks like.
Unfortunately, he does not. That is a game over, unfortunately.
Nice, we're going to get to see, actually, which potion we get for free this time.
Hey, listen.
It's only a green potion. I believe that per seed, it's going to be the same potion every time.
I believe so, yes.
So we can add a little bit of unlimited time to our already near unlimited Cane of Burna usage.
That's very true. At this point, he might be aware that his opponent's is finished, so he just kind of wants to keep this next attempt safe so he can just finish up. Very little stress of having to dodge attacks, so definitely understandable just to make sure he's okay.
Absolutely. Well, you got this, Docu. Chat, let's see you guys throw some support and cheer and good wish for Docu as we head back into Ganon. Show him who the real hero is. Back in phase 2, we have these fire bats with Ganon in the top left corner. You can actually stand right above his head and just wail on him with double spin attacks and get through the phase very, very quickly. Top left corner, top right corner are very, very convenient spots for Ganon, but we're back to phase 3. Kind of in a dangerous spot. Gotta hope that Ganon's gonna move a little bit. Nice, got out of the way right as that floor was falling. Might be able to get a double out of this. I think Ganon's far enough away from the edge. Yep. Nice. And he's just gonna stand right there. Needs to be really, really careful though, because without a fairy, one more hit is going to take him out. Almost there. We'll get silver hit number 3. Not quite number 4, because as soon as Ganon hits the edge, he starts to teleport. But there we go. Number 4. Docu-horror is done. Or will be in just a moment. We still have one more little input to go through.
And
there we go. Get those GGs in chat, guys. Docu-horror stuck with it, got through this. Never stopped moving, kept on going. And there's nothing more commendable than that, in my opinion. GG Docu-horror.
And he finishes with an official speed racing TV time of 2 hours, 32 minutes, and 18 seconds.
And we will see if we can get Docu-horror in chat with us briefly. Coming up next on Speed Gaming 4 is another randomizer race at 6 p.m., so just about 20 minutes or so. That looks like the next thing that's on the docket here. Speed Gaming 2 also has one at 6 p.m.
And there's more than likely a bunch of other races going on right now, too. There's so much randomizer.
Well, this was a seed that kept us guessing, if nothing else. Looking for one thing for a while, two things actually, because Candace Samaria wasn't picked up until semi-sorta kinda late. But you know, one thing that was really, really interesting was just how open it was in the very beginning, having the Titan's Mitts, Moon Pearl, Hammer, Hookshot, Mirror. We had so much that was open so quickly to both of our runners. Odin, one thing that we didn't actually mention was that for about the first hour or so after you guys initially went through Kakariko, you were pretty much in different spaces the entire time. And it made it really, really interesting to watch, to see what was going to happen when for each person.
Where did he end up going first?
Went up to Death Mountain well before you did, I believe, while you were doing... Or maybe, I might actually have that reversed.
No, he went up to Death Mountain first,
Okay.
and Odin kind of checked a lot of the Dark World, or early Dark World, Light World locations, using the mirror to kind of get around as well. Did some fake flippering as well. Got the book for desert, stuff of that nature.
I felt really good about that, considering how quick I could do that. And I got the fire rod like right away too.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that was a very, very early find.
We do have Smith in the waiting room.
Should I pop out and give him his time now?
You can stay in and wish a GG if you want to do that.
Okay.
I cannot drag him in here. There we go. Hello, Smith. Welcome. GG. Congrats on finishing your run. How are you feeling about all of that?
Are you with us there?
Hello?
There we go.
Hey. GG.
Yeah, GG.
Well, Discord is as Discord does. Having a little bit of trouble hearing you coming through.
Oh, gee, okay. I have no idea if that helped or not.
For the moment, at least.
Okay.
How are you feeling?
Oh, jeez, that was a really bad run towards the end there.
Well, let me just say this. Based on your player bio, you've only been playing this for, what, a little bit over a month? Is that correct?
Yeah, about that much.
So let me just say right away that there's absolutely nothing wrong with what you did and how you played based on that alone.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
I felt really good about that run up until I got back into sequence, to be honest. Second I found the lamp, I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, we were wondering about the sequence for a while because of the broken Death Mountain access, and then finding the flute up there on Dark Death Mountain, no less. It's like, okay, where is the lantern going to wind up being?
It's fine. I legit usually never sequence break like that, or pretty much at all. But I think it was because I didn't have bombs at the end of the escape. I just had the one for the back area. So I was like, okay, I'll go do the hula hand so I can get the money and buy bombs at Kakariko.
Mm-hmm. And then you picked up a couple on your way to Kakariko from those bush drops. That was really, really good.
Yeah. And then I ended up going, backwards from that, Lost Woods route. And I don't know, I just figured why not. I got the Titan's mitts. I realized, okay, well, I can just whatever. I don't know.
Well, the reality is that there were just so many locations open at that point that any direction was a good one.
Yeah.
Whether it be Outcasts or Death Mountain or the normal South Shore mini Maldorm stuff, there were a lot of high-density item locations available to you both very, very early on.
Yeah.
And I guess to put things into perspective a little bit, it was honestly, there was not much separating you guys when you both found Canis Samaria. At that point, it was pretty close. Both of you were kind of checking kind of the Eastern Dark World at around the same time. And then Misery Mire happened. Unfortunately, that's where kind of Vitreous kind of came into play a little bit.
Yeah, that's a bit when everything just happened.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's it's unfortunate with the equipment that you had. That was just the kind of fight that I wouldn't wish on anybody, really. Just based on a little bit of a different routing path, Odin had actually picked up the Tempered Sword before Vitreous, and you were actually both in Misery Mire at the same time. And it just wound up being two very, very different Vitreous fights just based on equipment alone. It's exceedingly difficult if all that you have are bombs and Fighter Sword.
Yeah, the Vitreous fight really just messed me up because then I didn't have bombs for Ice Palace. I didn't really have bombs in GT.
Mm-hmm.
Just
Welcome to Randomizer.
Yeah, I guess that's the best way to put it.
yeah, it really does happen like that sometimes.
But if there's one thing that you really should be absolutely proud of, it's that you just kept going. You pushed right on through it all, and you finished the seed. You know, some people may not be able to say that they've got that sort of strength and perseverance, and you owe it to yourself for that. So well done. Now, hate to cut this short. It does appear that we are setting up for the next 6. Well, not the next 6 p.m. It's the only 6 p.m. on this channel. But I would like to thank you both for running, and wishing you both success and whatnot as we go through the subsequent rounds of the Swiss tournament.
Yeah.
Thank you. Good luck to everyone in here in the tournament.
Thank you.
Alright, folks, if you did enjoy what you watched between Odinspack and docuhorror, if you would consider giving them a follow, that's something that they may appreciate. I would like to thank our tracker, Michael, for keeping up on it today. I believe this was his first time doing it, so well done. And my co-commentator, Slim Kirby, great pleasure chatting with you, hanging out, talking a little bit of Randomizer.
No problem. It's always fun talking Randomizer with you, man, and I had a really good time, and yeah, thank you for joining me on this. This was a lot of fun.
Alright, you got it. Folks, chat, take care. We got more Randomizer coming right up.